I vowed not to do this again. What are we doing, Paul?
Well, as they say in The Godfather, just when you're out, they pull you back in. Now, we start with apparently the wedding of the century. You ready?
Ooh.
There was this moment where our private secretary, she'd worked for the Queen for almost, I think, 20 years. And what she said to me was, it's like this fish that's like swimming perfectly, powerful, it's on the right current. And then one day this little organism comes in, this foreign organism.
What weird analogy was that? It didn't make any sense. I bet that woman never actually said that.
100%.
And the entire thing goes, what is that? What is it doing here? It doesn't look like us. It doesn't move like us. We don't like it. Get it off of us.
There's some rather polarised opinions.
I say it's doomed.
Oh.
I mean, how does their narrative even make sense? That we've got this deeply racist media, royal family, and the country and the world, presumably, and yet she was absolutely not only accepted but presented as some just, you know, the best thing that had happened to this family in years.
Yay! Oh yay! Oh yay! It's Harry and Meghan's big day. God save Queen.
I looked this up. This thing happened, I think, in the middle of the night. 5.5 million Australians watched them get married, right? That is more than the final of the Australian Open, any reality show. Like, it was one of the biggest things of the 21st century was people watching. And they weren't hate watching, they were cheering on.
Oh, at the time, because I remember I was in a very small minority of people who was not buying into this and marvelling at everyone having this mass delusion in my mind when they actually find out about you and realise they don't like you anymore. To paint that as racist is just so disingenuous.
Some people would say that you were judgmental from the start. I say clairvoyant.
I say just, you know, had eyes and ears.
Harry's dad is very charming. And I said to him, like, I've lost my dad in this.
Well, no.
No.
You dumped your dad. Your dad's okay. He's not dead.
Your dad's quite findable.
H and I are really, really good at finding each other.
Stop with the H. Stop with the H and the M and the cutie names. It's such baby talk.
Don't need to shorten Harry. Could shorten this bloody reality series. Can we actually call it what it is? Because even documentary, it's not a documentary. This is a cheap and tacky reality series without the entertainment value of a Real Housewives or the Kardashians. But this is what this is, a 6-part reality series that they got paid how much for?
I think it is a therapy session in 4K where we only hear one side of the whole thing, and if you go on the journey with them, then you're going to be cleansed of all of the evils of racism and institutional awfulness of something she chose to join.
You know what they really have an issue with? I think there's 2 things. One, the fact that they're not the most special in the royal family. And they thought they would be
100%.
because Harry was the most popular along with the Queen, and she was an actress, so she thought she was like Grace Kelly coming in. No, there's Kate and Will, they're the future King and Queen, they're the ones the public warms to more. That's just reality. Then you've got the fact that they started, after all the unchecked adulation, there started to be a few negative stories as anyone in the public. And that's what it's not the media intrusion, it's the negative narrative that they just could not cope with.
I just really wanted the music to be fun. Even our first dance, Song of a Thousand Dances, a Thousand, I always get it wrong.
No.
So special was this song, she doesn't know what the name of it is. Ugh.
This is so self-indulgent. You were basically going back through the wedding, reminiscing about the wedding and the reception and what we wore and how we danced.
We know, we saw it.
Netflix must be the biggest mugs in the world to be paying out. I mean, you know, there's rumours of 100 million, even if it was 10 million, and I think it was a lot closer to 100, for this.
A modernisation that would...
The People's
you can't
Princess.
remember.
Did you see the
Yeah,
front
of course.
magazine?
That's
People's
part of the
Princess.
racism. Remember the horrific racism, Rita.
Yes, Brexit. Remember, it was all because of Brexit. Remember the last episode where they tried to blame Brexit?
By the way, Nigel Farage told me that he says all of this is so she can one day run for Congress.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely think she's got ambitions of, you know, she's apparently close to Hillary Clinton. She's close to Stacey Abrams and a few other Democrats. And you know what? In California, an inanimate carbon rod could get elected for the Democrats. I was still at the wedding. For the love of God, someone bring me some wine.
Kill me!
If you are writing the royal family story as a novel, it's almost at this point in its history that you would want to...
We are going to have a novel because Harry's going to be releasing his memoirs in January.
And then
Can't
the
you
musical.
wait?
Imagine Meghan the musical on Broadway.
Is it just everyone sitting around in a circle crying?
The audience sleeping.
As far as people were concerned, we were living at a palace, and we were in a cottage.
We were living on
palace grounds.
Yeah.
Oh.
What? That wasn't good enough?
It was very regal. Of course it does. It says palace in the name. But Nottingham Cottage, it was so small.
The whole thing's on a slight lean.
It looks like bloody charming to me.
Would be hard when you get Uber Eats, though. Kensington no, not the palace, the cottage.
It was just a chapter in our lives where I don't think anyone could believe what it was actually like behind the scenes.
Okay. So here's the deal. He's lived there for a while before they got married. He's cool with it. She turns up and goes,
No,
Princess, not castle.
this isn't what I envisioned.
I think Australia was a real turning point.
Australia, that's us. Let's go.
Popular. So popular with the public. The internals at the palace were incredibly threatened by that.
They were freaking thrilled.
So the reason the royals turned on them was because she was more popular and therefore they were a threat.
One, nonsense, because they're talking about our country, so let's fact check it here now. Princess Kate has been to Australia a few times. She even had little George with her. That was enormous. So if they're trying to say, oh, no, Meghan was more popular and the royals had their noses out of joint, delusional. This is how twisted this entire narrative is. If they're not popular and there's criticism, racism, Brexit, racism. If it's too popular, if there's adulation, well then, oh no, that threatens the royal. Like there's no scenario when these two don't come out as victims.
Surprise, surprise, having it both ways. How LA of her.
That's the theme of this entire doco. Reality series.
Yeah.
The issue is when someone who's marrying in, who should be a supporting act, is then stealing the limelight or is doing the job better than the person who was born to do this.
Doing the job better? Prince Harry now more popular than the Queen. Did they really put that headline up? They need some hard truths. I'm willing to fly over to LA and just sit them both down and lay it out.
Oh, can we film that for YouTube?
On a serious note, because we've seen it in the first 3 episodes, we're seeing it again in these, they need to stop appropriating Diana's victimhood. It's actually kind of creepy and gross. You know, what happened to her and the way and let's not forget, yes, she had a role to play. She invited the media in at times. She used the media beautifully when she wanted to, but there was obviously times when they were intrusive and they were stepping over a line, and they are taking that and it's as if it's their story now.
Em and I spent the night in a room in Buckingham Palace after an event where every single member of the family, senior members of the family had been, including the Queen.
The next morning, they'd set up breakfast for Harry and I.
And on the front page of the Telegraph, Meghan.
And you. Yeah, duh.
I went, Oh my God.
She was like, but it's not my fault. And I said, I know. And my mum felt the same way.
Yeah, but Harry seems to be some sort of mad tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. Everything is blown up. It's like the Brexit thing. Oh, there was this report that came out from the EU, and that happened when, he's just seeing lines and connections and trying to jump to all sorts of conclusions.
Forget QAnon, it's H-anon.
I would far rather get destroyed in the press than play along with this game or this business of trading. And to see my brother's office copy the very same thing that we promised the two of us would never ever do, that was heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah, because I'm sure Meghan and Harry have never planted a story or briefed or background of the media. Give me a break.
Not at all.
There's leaking, but there's also planting of stories. So if the comms team want to be able to remove a negative story about their principal, they will trade and give you something about someone else's principal. So the officers end up working against each other.
So, okay, they work against each other like politicians or something. Is this the suggestion now?
Oh, it's just, again, it's one of Harry's, seeing...
more H-anon, more H-anon. Trademark, by the way. Trademark. Rita and I own it.
Archie's just been born. Media, social media starts to sort of take on a life of its own. Someone in the media posting a photograph of a couple with a chimp.
Okay.
And at the top it said, royal baby leaves hospital.
Not cool.
It was a metaphor for the way this family were being treated.
They've taken
one
random tweet
nutter.
from a nobody. This victim playing has got to areas that are just frankly ridiculous.
But again...
I mean, how many gross, racist, in my case,
Correct.
sexist tweets do I see a day?
Yeah.
And they've plucked that from a bloody nobody. Oh, yeah, I remember this.
Where she cries in South Africa.
Yeah, well, I guess, and also thank you for asking, because not many people have asked if I'm okay.
And the answer is, would it be fair to say not really okay? It's really been a struggle.
Yes. I mean, I guess I just never thought they'd even use it in the documentary.
Really? He's an interviewer. He's not your friend, Meghan. No, it was just an opportunity to play victim. Let's not bloody pretend it was anything other than there's a camera and here's me looking sad being a victim. That's all that was.
It was already clear to the media that the palace wasn't going to protect her. Once that happens, the floodgates open.
And I realized that I wasn't just being thrown to the wolves, I was being fed to the wolves.
Oh, the victimhood.
Oh, again.
I was being fed to the wolves. Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, it's one thing for one half of the couple to be this delusional and also self-aggrandizing, is that the term?
Yeah.
But these two buy into each other's victimhood and seem to work each other up into new levels of bloody lunacy.
It's like ego by osmosis.
It's some sort of Munchausen's coupledom here. If their victims are the world's most privileged victims, they seem so determined to be miserable.
The fairy tale has fractured and one person is copping all the blame.
Meghan seems to be a version of the Antichrist.
Is Meghan Markle Duchess difficult?
Difficult, Monster Markle.
So this also was the time when the bullying stuff starts, the story about bullying.
Well, because you know what? When you lose one staff member, that could be considered a misfortune. 2 looks like carelessness. 3, 4, 5, 6, there's a pattern developing. How many did they lose? Around a dozen, maybe more. Like this is, they lost a number of staff in a short period of time. All of them aggrieved. And despite all the crap we're hearing about how, the family was out to get them and feeding them to the wolves, let's not forget that investigation they did, They have buried that and suppressed it to protect them. You know what? This documentary, I think, is an invitation for the palace to release that report.
Correct.
Before we left, spoke to my grandmother as well and told her that we're coming back on the 6th and I would love to come and drive up and come and see you. She knew that we were finding things hard. I'd spoken to her many times about it. She told me that she had no plans for the week. And she said, well, why don't you come up and intend to have tea, but why don't you stay the night, you and Meghan?
And so right as we're getting on the plane, this urgent message comes through to H saying, you are not allowed to go and see Her Majesty. Make sure that your principal is aware. He cannot go and see her. And she's busy. She has plans all week.
I was like, wow, that's certainly the opposite to what she had told me. Once we were back in the UK, I rang her and I said, I'm now told that you're busy. And she goes, yes, I didn't know that I was busy. I've been told that I'm busy. I've actually been told that I'm busy all week. I was like, wow.
Two things.
Yeah.
No, you go first.
I really hate that they're telling a story about a lady who can't respond, firstly. Secondly, the way that the images go from her being a cute, lovely, grandmotherly figure to sort of this evil empire thing that they're trying to put out there. And even if this was recorded before she died, they knew she was old and going to die. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to your nana?
Why would you do that to your grandpa and your nana? Because both of them, their final couple of years, were...
Was this over their shoulder?
Absolutely. This is the crap they had to deal with. But my two big issues with that. One, he's essentially calling his grandmother a liar because he said he called her and she said, I didn't realise I had all these other commitments. I can't... So they're calling her a liar, which is just disgusting.
But she could have been, well, yes, of course, it's okay, I can do Tuesday. And then the diary comes in, no, I can't do Tuesday.
And you would think that would happen all the time. This is the Queen of England. Two, if they are right and if they saw that, oh, yes, Harry's coming to stay the night and we don't think that's a good idea, so they intervened. Well, let me give you a very good reason. This doco, all the leaking we saw before the doco, they thought that the Queen wouldn't be protected, that they would take things that were discussed and leak it, misrepresented and embarrass the Queen and the family. So what? If they were protecting the Queen, they did their job.
Well, and they were right, because guess what happened?
Right. How do you do that and allow that to be shown after she's passed away? I mean, it would have been bad enough when she was here, but how do you not say to Netflix, given that she's passed away, can we please remove that little segment? And I think it would have been within their control to do that, and they chose not to.
I was given 5 options. 1 being all in, no change. 5 being all out.
Why would they? I mean, you know what? If the palace did present them with 5 options, that's a mistake, because the only 2 options should have been you're in or you're out.
100%.
You can't be half pregnant. You can't be having your own jobs, leaking to the media or getting $100 million Netflix agreements to leak about what's happening in your family, and then still show up and cut ribbons and be the prince. Like, pick a lane, mate. Pick a lane.
But it became very clear very quickly that that goal was not up for discussion or debate. It was terrifying to have my brother scream and shout at me and my father say things that just simply weren't true, and my grandmother, you know, quietly sit there and sort of take it all in.
Terrifying.
This terrifying.
Please.
Because your Prince Charles strikes me as terrifying.
Harry.
Ouch. So his grandmother's a liar. Someone in the family is a racist. I mean, that's just mud's thrown.
William's a bully.
Family. William's now a bully. He's a bully. How do you come back from this? Seriously, how? I mean, there was so much conjecture when the Queen passed away that there would be efforts for this family to heal, that Harry was going to extend an olive branch and you know, prodigal son returns. No, this is burning down every bridge.
He is burning London Bridge. He's burning London Bridge.
Well, I just can't. You would have to be the most forgiving, generous, trusting soul to have these two.
In 10 years' time, when he's slithering back, You know where they're going to...
Because she's moved on to husband number 3.
It's not just some story. You are making me scared. Right? And like that night, to be up and down in the middle of the night, looking down my hallway, like, are we safe? Are the doors locked?
Stop it.
That's real.
She's cooked. She is cooked.
This victim playing, anyone who's in the public eye, it is sadly a feature of being in the public eye that you get absolute loons who make threats, who say creepy stuff, who are just, you know, but that, to then again, to take that and to lay the blame on institutions and put on this sort of a performance as if it's some rare occurrence, it's sadly not. Delusions of grandeur mixed in with catastrophising, mixed in with just two people who are young, who should have jobs, who don't have jobs. So what do? Obsess about themselves day and night. I don't think I know anyone personally in my world who's as miserable as these two appear to be.
They went through the world's longest lockdown and they are not as miserable as these people.
No, because, I mean, that's the thing. It doesn't matter what blessings you have. If you're determined to be a victim and be miserable, well, guess what? That's what you're going to be. And these two are proof of that.
Unpinned the hat, quickly took this green dress off, threw on some clothes for the plane. Yeah, I was saying goodbye. We get on the plane, and it's not the pilot, but whoever's sort of overseeing the crew. And he came and he knelt next to my seat and he took his hat off. And I just remember looking at him, he goes, "We appreciate everything you did for our country."
Oh, when will this end? Is there no end? How many lies can you be caught in before we say, produce the receipts or it didn't happen? Because that's where I am with these two. But remember when she gave that bizarre story, it would have been after this, wouldn't it, where she said some of the South African cast of The Lion King likened her experience or her marriage to Nelson Mandela being released from prison. It was some absolute fantasy, and the actual person who would have said that, who was the South African in the cast, came out and said, "I'd never said it, wasn't even there, wasn't even there at the premiere."
Hakuna Matata means bullshit.
Tonight, for the first time, they tell their story.
The Oprah interview.
It was less about setting the record straight and at least filling in the blanks that other people were filling in for us.
This was where, again, they got the softest interview ever recorded in the world, and they were caught in so many verifiable lies. Not recollections may vary, but verifiable lies. This is what they don't get. You only cry wolf so many times.
Beyonce just texted. Really meant.
Shut up.
Oh, Beyonce!
Beyonce's texting!
Oh, she's watched Oprah and she sent a text. So look, I'm going to read it all out because I'm sure Beyonce is really appreciative of her private text also being shared.
And how lucky that the text message came while she was sitting down and the camera was there. She wasn't on the torch. The camera was right there.
Oh, this is Prince Philip's funeral, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell me about going back. What was that like?
It was hard. None of us really wanted to have to talk about it at my grandfather's funeral, but we did. And, you know, I've had to make peace with the fact that probably never going to get genuine accountability or a genuine apology.
Apology for what?
Oh. But again, the funeral happened during a lockdown. The Queen's had to sit by herself.
Mm-hmm.
You have an opportunity to be with your family and you talk about you.
You know, these two are a couple of very, very committed gaslighters because they have their narrative and they'll just make anything fit into it.
But so how do we deal with that? Like, how on earth, like...
You work so together, like, I
know. It's your brother. I'm not gonna say anything about your brother, but it's so obvious.
No, she didn't. Your brother? Not bad enough that she's alienated. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to blame her completely, but let's not pretend she hasn't helped in alienating him from his former family. But now it's your brother, and he's somehow behind their court case not going, in precisely the direction they wanted.
That is the most honest bit of the whole 6 hours. The way they fight, that's how they fight. She blows up, and he, like a puppy, goes. That's their whole thing
dynamic.
Done. They finally, accidentally, thinking that it's the great moment of victimhood, they have ended up shooting themselves in the foot.
Shooting themselves?
The smoking gun is aimed at their feet. They're back in Sandringham, 5 different options. Well, then, okay, we're done. Walk away.
Yeah.
This is trying to keep it going and set up the idea that every negative story is leaked by him, knowing, he's able to do this because he knows his brother can't fight back.
Well, they can't. The royals can't. They can't go for a tit-for-tat reality series. That's not how it's done. And it's... I just think this is so low to be going after your brother like this, your blood. He's got no proof of anything.
Well, ironically, for a show that is so much about his mother, how would any mother feel knowing that a brother was willing to do that to another brother?
You know what? I think his mother would be appalled. And I think, a lot of people have thought, what would Diana think of Meghan and Harry? I reckon Diana would have seen Meghan coming from a mile away.
Yep, saying, pal, fun, out.
I don't think the marriage to Meghan would have happened if Princess Di was still with us.
Let's call this a modern fairy tale. Once upon a time, there was a girl from LA. Some people called her an actress.
When will this finish?
And there was a guy from London. Some people called him a prince.
Did they really? I mean, can we just go through the whole wedding again? It's not like we didn't experience it the first time.
My love has no beginning, my love has no end. No front or back, and my love won't bend.
Okay, enough. Gone. Okay.
No, enough.
So, she's Diana.
I've lost the will just to carry on.
He's Diana. Anything nasty about us has been leaked by my brother.
The bully who the palace lies to protect whilst they feed me to the wolves. At the end of the day, this is a man who's, about 40? He's not a child. He's not a naive 20-year-old. He's made the decisions to throw his family under the bus, to personally attack his brother, who's now a bully and a liar and God knows what else.
I can't say it.
Give me a break.
I'm not going to say it on camera, but I'm going to whisper it to you. Here's the word that I think sums him up.
Ooh, he can't say that on air.